Hi, thanks for joining. And for those of you that I haven't met before, my name's Hannah and I'm head of training here at PresentPal. And today we're going to run through in full the brand new PresentPal V3 app. So I'll get my screen shared and we can get started. So before we move on to the brand new V3 app, what I thought would be great for us to do to begin with is just have a bit of a reminder in terms of the problem that we're here to fix, and that is oral communication, the challenge of communication for students. Now that can come in a range of scenarios, but it's so important we support students with this all-important skill throughout education and beyond. So on the screen here, I've listed some of the common challenges when it comes to communicating, public speaking, presentations, really delivery of content. And I'm sure we can all agree that we've probably come across a few of these ourselves. It's not just students with disabilities that find this challenging. It really is a universal challenge. Following on from this, I've got some impressive stats here. So on the left-hand side, 77% of the general population suffer from presentation anxiety. So again, when it comes to public speaking, it's a pretty universal challenge, not just students with disabilities that find that challenging, but really the wider population. Along with that, 39% of millennials would rather interact via smartphones than face-to-face. Now, this is an interesting one because the majority of students will have a mobile phone in their pocket. So if they can use something that they're already so comfortable with and have an application on that device to support them through those scenarios, to build their confidence, ensure that they're supported through that challenge is really important. But the one that stands out to me on the right hand side, 56% of those who fear public speaking say that they've avoided applying for jobs. Now, this highlights the impact this could have if we're not supporting students throughout education with this all-important skill of communication. So it really could impact them moving on into their career and onwards, really. So with that in mind, let's move on to V3 then. So PresentPal is a working memory aid to improve communication skills with that focus on public speaking and presentations. So it's a mobile app. It's available on iOS and Android devices. So you can use that on your mobile phone. You can use it on a tablet or an iPad, anything like that. Now, in terms of the app itself, when you have access to this, the home screen is what you can see on the slide here. So at the very top, we do have a tutorials area. So this links through to captioned video content. We also do have a YouTube channel with these videos on. Again, it may be useful for students to watch that on a larger screen whilst sort of walking through the steps themselves on their mobile device. So that's all available in-app and on YouTube. Along with that, we have the ability to customize the app throughout. So this is really important to us from an accessibility point of view, but to ensure all users can benefit and adapt the tool to suit their needs. So at the top right-hand corner of the home screen, you'll see there's a menu icon. And from here, you can go into settings and visual settings. Now, within this personalization area, you can amend the font, you can amend the font size, and you can also amend the color overlay. So choosing whatever offers the least visual stress for the user. Once this is saved, it's then consistent through the app. So it's saved as your default settings, and this can be amended at any time. You will see with V3, we have these very clear sort of tiled areas. So it makes it really clear for the user sort of where to look and the process of the journey to follow. As well as the personalization area, we do have some additional accessibility features. So again, within the menu area at the top right of the home screen and settings, you'll see some additional options here. So the first is accessible scroll. It avoids that motion of swiping and adds buttons to the top and the bottom of the screen. We also have the stopwatch feature still. Now, this is an optional feature. It's displayed at the top right of your screen when displaying your notes, always counting up, but if you find that off-putting, you can switch that off. Audio cues, perfect for visually impaired users. It allows for your notes to be read out loud, so you can confidently engage with the audience in front of you whilst having your notes read out, and that can be turned on or off. Again, dark mode is another additional feature here. So this just inverts the background colours to reduce that eye strain further. A lot of apps have that nowadays. And again, that's available to turn on or off within the settings area. Now you'll see we've got sort of various policies available. We've got information about the version of app that you're using. And at the bottom here, we do also have a feedback area. So you can report any technical issues or provide feedback directly within the app now. So let's take a step back and let's again look at a comparison here between what students traditionally would have compared to what they can benefit from now. So on the left-hand side, these are pretty extreme examples, but I have some examples of handwritten notes that students may take in with them to support them in the delivery of a presentation, perhaps. So if a student was advised they're due to give a presentation, often what they would end up doing is scribbling absolutely everything that they can think of down on a piece of paper. Now, this is because that's rather scary to stand in front of a room full of people and to present out loud, so to deliver a presentation or content that you've only just learned. So a lot of students do scribble everything down just so that they've got that. Now, the trouble with that is often they are hiding behind that piece of paper because they're feeling really nervous and really anxious. But along with that, it becomes then a bit of a reading exercise. So you end up reading your notes that are scribbled on that piece of paper, word for word. Now, the issues are, if you struggle reading your own notes, that can be really challenging to start with. But also, if there's any distraction in your surroundings, if you look up for a moment, it's then really difficult to find your place again and continue. And it's like a domino effect from there. Some other users prefer flashcards, so cue cards, as we got an example of again here on the left-hand side, some rather colourful notes here. Now, again, the issue here is reading your own writing, but again, it's that sort of rummaging through your notes, keeping your place without it sort of all falling down from there. Now, these are more organised. It means perhaps you can write your notes, every note cue card per presentation slide, for example, but still those challenges are still faced with your own sort of written notes. So PresentPal removes all of those challenges. It is a way of creating interactive and accessible flashcards. So moving away from those handwritten notes that can become really challenging and a bit too much with all of that visual stress, and provide an accessible interactive version of those notes. So to create the notes on your mobile device, it's really simple. All that you would do from the home screen is select the plus icon next to decks to create a new deck of flashcard. And this can be titled with whatever topic, or perhaps the same as your presentation if you have slides already created. From there, you would then create individual flashcards. So again, these could be per topic, for example, and against each flashcard, you would then create bullet points. So these bullet points are nothing too lengthy. It's just keywords or prompts, just to support that information recall and working memory so that you can confidently deliver around that point. Now, on the right-hand side of the screen here, you'll see that you also have the option to add in what we call a safety net, and that's pretty much what it says on the tin. It's a safety net to fall back on just in case you need it. And this can be added as either text or as an image. So this is that reassurance for the user. It may be that you have a medic, so somebody studying medicine. There may be a lot of abbreviations that you want to put in a bullet point, but perhaps you want to store sort of the full term for something, or pronunciation, or perhaps the symptoms of something as a safety net. So it's different ways of storing extra detail behind each of your bullet points. So when creating your notes on your device, you can simply type that in using the keyboard, or you can also take advantage of the speech to text, so dictate your notes in that way. Once you've created your notes, it then comes to supporting the delivery of that content. So there's a couple of features here that we'll run through. So the first is this magnified scrolling. Now, the reason that this is brilliant is it ensures that the user knows exactly where they are and they're confident in their delivery. So you'll see all it takes is just a swiping up of the screen to move through your bullet points. It's very clear which bullet you're currently referring to because that is magnified and central on screen. So this means that if you look up and engage with the audience in front of you, you know that when you look back down at your device, you know exactly where you are and you continue whenever you're ready. So you're in complete control of those notes. The second feature when delivering the content is this safety net. So we mentioned when creating your notes, you can store extra information behind each bullet point. So that can be stored as either an image or as text notes. So you'll see on screen here, we have a standard bullet to begin with that's magnified, but just below that, we have a safety net bullet, and you can tell by the left-hand side icon, it's a sort of speech bubble. That means you can tap anywhere on the screen and that safety net will then be shown. So that could be an image as we've just seen, or it could be text notes as shown now. So this could be extra informative text or an image. So perhaps a diagram. We've got a lot of visual thinkers, visual learners that would much prefer to describe a diagram rather than relying on those text notes. So it could be stored as that. But we also have a lot of users that use this as a calming mechanism as well. So if you're feeling particularly anxious in that moment, you can feel sort of that panic building up. It's a very discreet way of popping open an image, perhaps of your family, maybe of your pets, or something like that, perhaps even a motivational quote, but you've got that to fall back on and display very discreetly if and when you need it. So that's the safety net feature. So we all know that practice makes perfect, and this is one of the big enhancements with version 3. So we have enhanced significantly rehearsal mode. So with rehearsal mode, this is all about building confidence for the user and improving working memory, because that's what's important when it comes to presenting and delivering that content. So rehearsal mode now allows the user to practice their content from start to finish, and also sync that up with their PowerPoint slides if they have them. So the idea here is that you're rehearsing from start to finish out loud with your content. So it's just displayed in exactly the same way as it would be when you're performing that sort of live assessment or live presentation. Now, the great thing about this is it's capturing all of the audio. So as you're rehearsing out loud, the app is storing all of that information as audio content. The great thing about this is that when you come to review that file, it's displayed as shown on screen here, and it means you can play back, listen back and critique yourself whilst looking or viewing the notes that were displayed at that time. So at the bottom, you'll notice you then have the ability to sort of grade yourself. So you can mark that as good or something that needed work. And if it needed work, what needs improving? Is it the content? Is it timing? Is it speech? Or is it memory? So it's self-assessment, and it's identifying the areas to improve. Now, the reason this is so important is it allows the user to build confidence, but also, of course, amend their content accordingly from there. So once they've marked each flashcard, you'll see that we have this overall sort of tracker. You can see that the first flashcard at the top there, I've marked as needing improvements on time. Perhaps there was too much content there, maybe too many bullet points. Perhaps I can strip that back. If it was to do with memory, perhaps I was really struggling with the notes that I'd written in that bullet point. Perhaps I can store an image. Maybe a diagram would help me explain that rather than relying on those text notes. So things like that. Identifying the areas to improve and then amending the content accordingly. We do also have this overall sort of progress tracker as well. Now, this is brilliant in terms of building confidence, because this allows users to clearly see their progress over time and track their improvements with that. So you can look at how you rehearsed or how you performed perhaps 2 weeks ago compared to today. So you're grading yourself and you're very clearly tracking those improvements and the progress that you're making over time. This is also brilliant in terms of being able to work with mentors. So if you're working with a student, it allows you to review with them the areas that perhaps need a little more work or a little more support. So that's all within the rehearsal mode of PresentPal V3. So the PowerPoint integration, we have a Microsoft approved add-in. So the PresentPal PowerPoint add-in, and this is an integration with PowerPoint. It's available on PC and Mac. It's free of charge for all of our users, so they can install this onto PowerPoint, and it allows you to then have everything in one place. So the advantage of this is that you can then create your notes alongside your presentation slides. It's more accessible. You can benefit from third parties such as Dragon, Global Autocorrect, things like that on your machine, and obviously it allows you to then create your notes and use the add-in on a larger screen with a keyboard. So the brilliant thing about this is that once you have this synced up, it then becomes an all-in-one. So this is the extra benefit here. Along with being able to create your notes alongside your slides, it then syncs up and supports you through the delivery of that content. If you have a slideshow, it means that you're now in control of your slides as well in the palm of your hand via the PresentPal app. So now you have everything in one place. You have your notes, you have any safety net for that reassurance, you have a timer as well at the top right of the screen, and when you're moving through your notes, you're also controlling your slides. So less distraction, more control, more reassurance for the presenter. So before we move on to show you that in slightly more detail, one thing that I just wanted to touch on, and please do get in touch for further detail on this, is that we've been doing a lot of research on our current user base. And one thing that's been really interesting for us is that it's been fed back time and time again that there's actually additional uses of the tool that are currently being used or supporting our users. So primarily the use has always been to support with presentations, so in person and remote, and we've sort of discussed that today throughout the session. It's an obvious link there and has supported so many and still does. But there's an additional 2 uses of the tool here that can be used as well. So that is group work and exam preparation. Now, in both of these scenarios, students would often create notes to support in preparation, but also the delivery of these scenarios. So it's all to do with working memory and organisation of that content. So for group work, often students have group assignments in university. It may be to present as a group, but it could also to write an essay as a group on a certain topic. Now, we've had feedback that users are using the tool to support in the structuring and organisation of that essay piece. So creating flashcards for every section of the essay, sort of collaborating ideas, perhaps putting bullet points as references or things they want to include as part of that essay, and discussing that as a group. So really interesting use there. Along with that, exam preparation. So traditionally, a lot of users or students revise using flashcards. So they may have a flashcard for every topic that they want to revise. They may have questions on the front of the flashcard and answers on the reverse. And that's how they sort of revise and rehearse that content. They ask themselves the questions out loud and sort of rehearse the responses and amend their content that way. Now, using PresentPal, it just provides a more accessible, interactive version of those flashcards, but also using rehearsal mode allows them to rehearse, self-assess and critique, and then of course amend the content from there, which really reinforces or supports the reinforcement of that information. So again, let me know if you have any questions on that. We can run through that in more detail, so please do get in touch. But the last thing to show you now is we will run through the add-in very quickly together. So I've got PowerPoint open on my computer, as you can see here. All that's required is PowerPoint 2016 and above. If you have that on your machine, you can then download or install the PresentPal add-in. So all that you would do here is go up to Insert in the top left-hand corner of the screen, and you'll see roughly in the center we've got add-ins. So if I open up Get Add-ins, this effectively is the Microsoft App Store. So it's just the Microsoft App Store as you would have on your phone. You can type in PresentPal, and it will be at the top of that list for you to install there, free of charge. So once you've installed that onto your machine, I'll then go back up to the home ribbon at the top left-hand corner, and you'll see PresentPal in the top right there. So this is an add-in that opens up as a toolbar on the right-hand side of your screen. So again, we've now got everything in one place. Now, it's important to note that when it comes to a presentation, there's 2 parts to it. There's the audience's content, so what the audience will be viewing during your presentation, which is the slideshow, and there's your content, which is the supporting content for your delivery. And that is what PresentPal, the add-in, is here for, to support in the creation of that content and help you with the delivery when it comes. So I've created a slideshow here, as you can see, and I'm now going to use PresentPal add-in to create and organize my notes. So first of all, I'm going to go to the bottom and create a new deck. We will title this demonstration. Oh, so that's my demonstration deck. I'm going to open up that deck and you'll see flashcard number 1 that's currently untitled. Now, because I have a PowerPoint already created, I'm simply going to start clicking through the slides on the left-hand side, and what you'll see is in the add-in, it's picking up the slide number that I'm on, and it's also auto-populating the slide title for me. So it makes it really easy for me to then associate the correct presentation slide with the correct flashcard. So I've now got flashcard number 1, which is auto-populated with the slide title, and I can begin to organise what I want to say. So for example, at the start of this presentation, perhaps the first thing I want to do is introduce myself. The next thing I might want to do is maybe give a bit of a company history. So it's just about organising what I want to say to support me through that delivery. Now, just to the right-hand side, you'll see there's a little speech bubble, and this is the safety net. So I have the option of adding in extra information behind those bullet points. Now, I could do this as text. Perhaps if I know I'm going to be really anxious, I'm about to present to a room full of people I've never met before, this is a way of just having that information there just to support me in case I'm really anxious on the day. So maybe I want to make some notes in terms of what I want to include. So first of all, name, age, maybe I'll talk about where I'm from, my hometown, perhaps we'll talk about my experience as well, maybe we'll add in some hobbies, things like that. So it's making note just to fall back on if I suddenly forget what I want to include as part of that introduction. Likewise, we can also add in an image. So it may be a diagram. Perhaps it would be useful for me to add in a diagram of something if I'm talking about perhaps something medical, maybe something to do with science related, something like that. It could be really useful for me to add in a diagram or an image that would help me explain something. Or, as I mentioned previously, it could be a calming mechanism. So again, if I know I'm going to be particularly anxious, I can add in a picture of my dogs there, and I know that that's just going to ground me in that moment, help me focus on my breathing. It's discreet, nobody else knows that it's there, but it's there just in case I need it. And it's as simple as that. I can move on to slide number 2. Again, we're on flashcard number 2 here. You can see it's auto-populated. And again, I would continue adding in my notes. So what I'm going to do for you, just to finish off with, is show you what it looks like from my mobile. So if you bear with me for a moment, I will get that working for you. Here we go. So any moment my phone should be displayed on screen. There we go. I'm going to open up PresentPal. It's then going to refresh my account, and what you will then see is the notes that I've just created on my laptop. They're now available on my mobile device. So if I'm sat now on the train on the way home from university, I can review those notes. I can see the deck that I've created. I can see just to the left-hand side how many flashcards I've created as well. So I can open that up. I can review the flashcards. I can see that flashcard number 1 has content. I can open that up. I can review the bullets. If there's a speech bubble, I can also look at the safety net that I've included. We'll look at the bottom one there. And of course, you can also add more content. So on your mobile device, you can add in more content there. And again, anything that's done within your mobile, it's all synced up to the cloud. So auto syncs straight across to the add-in as soon as you open that again on your laptop. So if I go back to the home screen on my mobile, again, I'll go back, edit deck. So we're on the home screen. You can see the tutorials area, the rehearsal area. So if I wanted to rehearse that content or review any rehearsals, I can go into that area there. The final thing really to very quickly show you is when it comes to a presentation. So how can I support in the delivery if I have a PowerPoint presentation? So I'm going to go back into PowerPoint. I'm going to go to slide number 1 on the left, and I'm going to go to decks in the add-in because that takes me back to the home screen. So I'm now pretending I'm a student. So I've just walked into class and I'm about to present. So this is my graded presentation. I'm really nervous, but all I'm going to do is open up my laptop. I'm going to open up my PowerPoint presentation and open up the add-in. So in the add-in, I'm simply going to choose the deck that I want to use. and then just present my slideshow. So from the point of view of the audience, at the moment, all that they can see is that slideshow behind me on the large screen. So they can't see anything else. For your benefit, I'm going to show you my phone as well. So this is what's in my hand at the moment. So all that I would do on my mobile device, open up PresentPal, I'm going to go to the same deck there, and in the top right, press present. So we've got two options here. The first is with slideshow, which we're going to use. The second is just on device. So this is for any individuals that are using the app as a standalone. So we have a lot of users, perhaps that are working in a group. Maybe they're doing sort of more of a debate style or any sort of other communication task that they're just using device as a standalone. So there's that option there too. But as we mentioned, we're going to use a slideshow there. Press next. And it then scans my account. So it's checking that I'm logged in somewhere. It's all through the cloud, so I don't even need to be stood next to the computer. I could be in a completely separate room. As long as I'm synced up to the internet in some way, so that could be mobile data, it could be Wi-Fi, whatever the case, as long as it's synced up in some way, it will then notice your account's logged in. I've got my PC at the top there, and I'm now in control. So I can use PresentPal now in portrait or landscape, so I can move my phone around and I'm in control. All that I would do is just swipe up on my device to move through those bullets. So it's really clear with that magnified focus, the bullet that I'm currently on. If it's got a speech bubble on the left-hand side, it means there's a safety net, so you can tap any area of the screen and that image or text will appear. So there's a picture of Chris, our CEO and founder. I'm going to go off that and I'm going to continue with my notes. So you can see at the bottom of the screen, it's indicating that I'm about to move on to flashcard number 2. And when I do that, you'll see that in the background, the slide has also changed. So this is so beneficial because now it means that I'm in complete control. I'm not worried about using my keyboard or sort of clicking through the slides on a different device. It's all in the same in the palm of my hand on the same app. So again, I can just swipe up to move through my bullet points. You can see the difference between a standard bullet and a safety net bullet. Again, it's showing that I'm about to move to flashcard number 3. If I do that, the slide in the background changes. And again, tap anywhere on screen for that safety net to be displayed. So again, there's an example of perhaps an image that could be really useful if you're talking about the heart or something like that. And just to the top left-hand corner of the screen as well on my mobile device, you can see that it's got a number 16. Now this is the flashcard list or the slide list. So this means as well, I can change the order of my presentation, which is so beneficial for students because often they may get asked questions. Perhaps they're in more of sort of a debate style of presentation. They perhaps don't know what they're going to be speaking about when. So they've got a list of all of their content. They can go right down to the bottom if they wanted to. And the audience is none the wiser. So in terms of what the audience is seeing, they're seeing a really sort of slick transition through those slides, but I'm in control of the order and the presentation of them completely in the palm of my hand. You'll see we've got the timer at the top right-hand corner as well, always counting up, never down. But that really, again, just sort of supports overall control, reassurance, and everything that the student would need in terms of that delivery support. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. That pretty much is everything. Again, if you have any questions, please do get in touch. If you would like to run through those additional study skills as well, then let me know. We can arrange a quick call or a run through of that over Zoom or whatever the case is. Let me know as well if you would like a license setting up. I can arrange that for you, and you should have my email and my phone number. So never hesitate to reach out if I can help with anything at all. Thank you so much for your time again today, and I will look forward to catching up with you soon. Have a great day and take care.